Every trail has a story. Sometimes it's written in the guidebooks, sometimes it's handed down from generation to generation, and sometimes still it's created every time you step on the trail. I'm Mosi Moses of Connecticut Trails, and this is TrailTales. That's TELLS. And on this TrailTales podcast, we'll be exploring all around Connecticut. We'll be talking about our unique trails and the stories behind them, the myths, the legends, the landscapes. Have you ever stood at an overlook and wondered who came here before me? I wondered how they experienced this place. What gives this place the energy that it has? That's what we'll be exploring with Trail Tales. So lace up your boots and let's go. Our first episode will be focused on Lover's Leap, right here in New Milford, Connecticut. I chose this particular trail not because of the landscapes, but because of the story, the tragic story that occurred here. So this is where we parked. We're gonna go straight ahead, across the bridge, down the Lover's Leap Trail, and then we're gonna check out the overlook, and then we're gonna go down to the canoe launch. See if we can get a view from there, but maybe not. This bridge is so amazing. It's like the first feature of the park. And the view, woo, from both sides, pretty awesome. So I'm pretty short, but the bridge is pretty. Hi. The view from the bridge itself, spectacular. Come check it out. So cool. Would you hike a trail that's named after a century old legend? That's exactly what we're about to do right here at Lover's Leap. Come with me. Let's go. From the bridge, you turn right, and after walking for about a third of a mile, you get to this intersection. And this takes you to the most beautiful overlook. The most tragic love story that occurred in Connecticut happened right here. That's a result of the boat that just went by. So what happened at Love Asleep? Basically, there was this chief. His name was Warmog. He was a revered chief, both by his tribe and by settlers. He had a daughter named Lilanona. One day, Lilanona was out exploring the trails, doing whatever it is that native daughters of chiefs do. Probably trying to get away from the watchful eye of the tribe. And so she's out in the forest and she happens upon this settler who is hurt. And she takes him back to the tribe and nurses him back to health. And in the midst of her taking care of him, feeding him, she develops feelings for this man. She falls in love with him. And once he's healthy again, he says to her, I'm going to go back to my settlement and I'm going to tell my cohort, my colleagues, whatever, my friends, that I'm going to come back here and marry you. And so he leaves before the winter with the promise to return in spring. So winter passes, spring comes, summer's here. Still, he hasn't returned. And so Lilanona is sad. And Chief Warmog, seeing how sad she is just like, we got to get her out of this funk. We need to find her someone else that she could focus her energy on. And so he promises to marry her to one of the tribesmen. That doesn't go over very well. That makes her even more upset and more hurt. So in her distress, she decides, you know what? I don't want anybody else. I don't want to go on anymore. I'm off myself. And so she gets in her canoe and she's getting ready to sail over this cliff and plunge to her death. And as she's plunging to her death, her lover returns, like right at that moment. And so he sees her going off the cliff and he himself follows her and jumps off the cliff as well in an attempt to save her. They both drown. They both die. So that's the legend, right? And it's extremely sad. And the interesting thing about it is that there are legends like this, like Lover's Leap, all over the world, really. There's probably 50 Lover's Leap legends along the Mississippi. There is a Lover's Leap story on the island of Jamaica where this enslaved couple decide that they're going to leap to their death because the enslaver wanted to sell the man off to a different plantation. And so my thought is that sometimes with these myths, with these legends, what I think gets lost is the true experience of the people, their real life experiences. Like, did this really happen? Once you do the research, you find that there is no confirmed, Chief Warmog didn't necessarily have a daughter. It was confirmed that he had a son, but nobody knows that he had a daughter. Furthermore, a daughter named Lilanona. But that story has been around for centuries, and even so much so that the lake at Lover's Leap is actually named after Lilanona. So that's the story, that's the tragedy. Whether or not the legend of Lilanona is true, what we do know to be true is that her father, Chief Warmog, existed. And he was revered not only by his tribe, but by surrounding tribes that he brought together as well as by settlers. So much so that when he died in 1735, there was a memorial and a burial site built for him that lasted centuries. To this day, the people of New Milford have an effort to try to restore that burial ground. So we knew that the chief existed. We knew that he led a tribe. We know that his tribe lived and cared for the land in the Housatonic River Valley area. So the purpose of the podcast is really to spark curiosity. Curiosity about the trails, curiosity about the legends, curiosity about the story. And so while some historians may argue that the legend isn't authentic, that doesn't necessarily mean that we need to abandon the legend. It just means that each trail may have more than one story. And as someone with Indigenous Kalinago ancestry, I think it's so critical to share those stories in order to appreciate the culture of the land. And so that's what I want us all to do when we're out there on the trail is just think about those who came before us and also those who come after us and sort of preserving the land and preserving the stories and even integrating our own stories into the landscape. Thank you so much for joining my very first TrailTales podcast. If you enjoyed the content, please follow me for more. Come along on my next adventure. As always, keep exploring and remember, every trail has a tale.